Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jess and the Guest. My guest today is so talented, he makes me use words like multi-hyphenate, which is the fastest way to sound like a douchebag. But I'm so honored he agreed to do this. My guest today is Diallo Riddle. He's a co-creator of shows like Southside and Sherman Showcase. He starred as an actor on the show Marlon with Marlon Wayans. No big deal. He was one of the first writers on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and I think he was Emmy nominated for it. Today we talk about working with celebrities like Gwyneth Paltrow, President Barack Obama, the best story of Snoop Dogg I've ever heard, writing, show running, comedy, and so much more. He is amazing. I hope you like this episode. How is season 2 going? Southside's the only show everyone in my family loves.
Wow, that's so cool. Season 2 is going great. I personally think that we've leveled up in terms of the writing in season 2 because we know these characters better. So you just get to see more of them doing more of the things that they do, and we get to explore the city of Chicago more. We would have really been able to explore more if we had been able to shoot last year as we intended.
Yeah.
Obviously, COVID happened. We had a whole scene in a parade. That's not going to happen. There's things that we won't be able to do that we really want to do in season 2, but we'll save them for season 3. There's still so much that happens in season 2 that I think that people are really going to like.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite character? Because I love that all the characters are so fully developed. I love Chandra Russell's character. Literally every character is so good.
I don't. I feel like all of these characters are like our children, and if you ever said, "Oh, my favorite kid is the eldest child," you're just gonna have sad kids for the rest of your life. But there's certain moments from season 1 that I'm extremely proud of. We write what I think are really good scripts, but then the performers take it to the next level. So there's one scene where Keisha is calling in a report on spotting what she thinks might be a white serial killer who's in the store. And Keisha, played by Nefertari Spencer, as written, I thought it was funny, but what Neff did with that character, I think that's episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called White Murderer. What she does in that episode with that scene, she took it from funny on the page to hilarious in execution. So I think there are just a lot of moments like that. There are a lot of moments where it's we wrote something for one of the twins and they crushed it when we shot it. Sultan's such a great actor. And then I love our Greek chorus characters is what we tend to call them. But they're these sort of characters who, they'll stand up on the bus when the guys are trying to reclaim a microwave from one character. And they'll just say something, and they're our stand-in for the people in Chicago weighing in on something like that. Yeah. Those kind of moments from our Greek chorus, those always make me the most happy.
Yeah, I think I heard there was 153 speaking parts too.
Yeah, it's insane. We gave lines to the actual bus driver of the bus that we were on that day, and he was funny. There's no shortage of just really funny people in Chicago, and I think that's important to say because I think if you're not from Chicago, and all you ever do is watch the news, you would just think, oh my gosh, that place is Gotham City.
Yeah.
It's just crime and everybody's unhappy. And then when you come here, you're like, oh, there's so many people who are having a great time and smiling and laughing and really just, our show is basically everybody's got their side hustle, but at the end of the day, it's also everybody's got a life. And I think it's important with so much death and mayhem being reported, that it's important to remind people that no, it's just like so many other places. There's just there's an our town quality to Southside that we take. When we first started crafting the show, we were we want to make it like Springfield is in The Simpsons. So you want to get teachers and astronomers. You want to get people who want to be famous and people who could care less about fame and money. You want to get a little bit of everybody.
No, I love it because I'm from Philly, and when I first started, when I first moved to LA and I was doing stand-up at the Comedy Store, they would always introduce me as Jess is from Philly, she'll shoot you, or she'll know someone who'll shoot you. I'm what? That's not how it is at all. But yes,
every city nowadays thinks the other city's the murder capital of the world.
I know. Yeah, I was like, what is this?
People in New York are don't go to Philly. People in Philly are don't go to Miami. Don't go anywhere.
I know. So I know you and Bashir met in an a cappella group. Or a funny like pun to that. Like there's normally some weird a cappella name.
No, we didn't have a name like, you've heard so many things like pitch please and all these kind of things. But like, no, our acapella group was called Brothers.
Oh,
And we were an offshoot of like the Harvard gospel
yeah.
group that like, called Kuumba, but they were basically the gospel choir. And a couple of us guys were like, we're going to sing some secular music.
Yeah.
And which was funny because I was raised pretty much in not an atheist, but like sort of kind of a little bit agnostic family. I mean, like if we believed in anything, we just believed that there was a higher power, but we didn't necessarily go in for doctrine. And Bashir, of course, was raised Muslim, so we were like sort of the outsiders in that very traditional Christian choir. And so we were also big fans of Jodeci. So we were like, oh, we're gonna sing like R&B music and wear similar sweaters and get all these women to go crazy over us. So,
Did it work?
We were half successful.
Yeah.
We did wear the sweaters. That was about it.
Did it almost feel full circle then making Sherman Showcase together too? Like
yeah, it totally
yeah.
did because we came in together on music and we're still, even today, we're crafting a song for a commercial.
Yeah.
Because there's always a part of us that does want to do music, and I hope that people do continue to discover Sherman Showcase, which is now on Hulu and AMC Plus, I think.
Oh, awesome!
Because we've always wanted to do music.
Yeah.
I think that Dave Chappelle said, every musician kind of wants to be a comedian. Every comedian kind of wants to be a musician because you're kind of playing similar roles in people's day. You're bringing happiness, but you're also trying to get an emotional reaction, either to get them to laugh or to dance. And I still remember in 2007 when we were still just webisode writers for our own little web series called The Message. And we got word that there was this really funny, black guy who's doing comedy on the web from Derek Comedy, Donald Glover. And so we set up a meeting with him, and he, at the time, he's like, yeah, I'm a writer on 30 Rock now, and I'm really liking it. And we were like, oh yeah, well, that's cool. We'd love to do some sketch comedy with you. And he was like, yeah, I bet. And I remember then he like became Childish Gambino. I was like, he's a rapper?
Yeah.
So, it just goes to show that I don't think that those nerves, those creative impulses are very far away.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Seems like they're very, very close by.
Yeah. Now, are you and Bashir basically like common law married at this point? I feel like
yeah, I think in most states we'd have to make it honest.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was getting engaged to my wife in 2008, people were like, "Oh, so you're getting remarried?" We've been joined at the hip for over 20 years now, and doing a lot of fun stuff along the way.
Yeah. Has it always been pretty effortless? It looks like you guys just flow together so well, and it's so hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll still fight like brothers if we both feel passionately about something, and we can't find. But I will say that in the last 5 or 6 years, we've definitely found this groove, this rhythm, where it's like, hey, I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about that. Oh, why don't we work on those together and get them both going? And that's sort of how we pulled off getting both Southside and Sherman Showcase to air both in 2019. Both were supposed to have their season 2s in 2020. We were lucky enough that we got Sherman's finished just in time before the pandemic hit. So we were able to release the Black History Month Spectacular as sort of like a big packaged 1 hour Sherman Showcase special. I'm happy to say that doesn't impact Sherman season 2, which we will start at as soon as we're done shooting Southside season 2.
My God, you say it like it's so easy I'm like, that's the hardest thing.
No, it's not easy at all.
God, I know.
I mean, like you forget along the way, like, we've helped, we've been working with Marlon Wayans, who's a friend of mine. He made me a character on his Netflix sitcom. We've been writing a single camera show, which just means, to people who don't work in the industry, it means that it's not going to be a sitcom with like a live studio audience. It'll be, shot like The Office or Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah. And we see this as Marlon in his own sort of unique Curb Your Enthusiasm, in the sense that whereas Larry is sort of a misanthrope, we always laugh when we hang out with Marlon because he's actually so nice to people in real life. And sometimes it comes back to haunt him. Yeah. And so we wanted to do a show where, basically no good deed of Marlon's goes unpunished, because this is based on some of the stuff that's happened in real life that we find really funny. So we're still working on other shows with other people. We still have a comedy horror project that we're potentially working with Stephen King, and there's some other projects that I probably should not bring up,
Yeah.
but I'm very
incredible.
excited.
You were so good on Marlon. Was it different just performing, like just acting versus doing everything?
It was different in a good way.
Yeah.
It was different in a good way because, well, one thing about being an actor writer is that you acted it, and then after they call cut, you go back to the writer's room, and then you have to completely take off that mask of that character and just be a guy who's trying to fix whatever story issues. You see that on Southside. Like,
yeah.
Southside flows, but we work really hard on those stories.
Yeah.
The great thing about being just the actor is you come in, you get a script, you say it out loud, people laugh, and then you go home. There's no like 3 a.m. Writing session for an actor unless you're a writer on the show. And for that, I loved it. I thought it was literally the most fun I've ever had. And the cast was so tight that we're still all best friends. Me, Brescia, Essence, Marlon, like we still have like a little text thread. Like it started off just like, oh man, we want to do another show together. And now it's just like, you see what happened in the news today? Like it's just become like, like a family thread because we are like a family. And we would include the kids from that show too, but there's a lot of language on that thread. So we're just trying to protect their innocence.
Was there like a DJ too? I heard there it was like a party going there.
Yeah, there were a couple of times I would hop on the DJ deck and they'd be like, Stevie's a DJ? I've been DJing since I was at Harvard. It was a better term time job than working in the law library.
Yeah.
So I've always spun records, and now it's easier than ever because you just spin them off your laptop. But I still have the vinyl. I still have the records, and now the nice thing is that we get to work with some of the people. There's a group called the Knox, who I think is a great group, and we worked with them on a lot of the Sherman Showcase songs. Snoop Dogg reached out because he's a big fan of Southside, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a show with y'all because y'all funny as hell." Like we were just like, Snoop, that's great, and it's been very surreal. Jada Pinkett Smith. It's been very surreal to see people who I grew up loving responding to something that I put out in the universe. So
I saw Snoop posted too. It was like all over his social media.
And then he hit us up on a Zoom. Well, he kind of so fun story about Snoop is that we were supposed to do it one night, and then his manager called us at the very last second. It was like, hey, so Snoop had a really big dinner and he wants to go to sleep, but he'll do this maybe 24 hours from now. And I was just like, that's hilarious. I love the idea of Snoop having a really satisfying dinner and then being like, I need to lay down.
So, I want to get to that level. Like, how do I
feel like that's a good level to reach. That's a really good level to reach. Was that Snoop?
Yeah, he's incredible. So I would love a show that you guys worked on together. Like, please do this.
I can't even imagine what it'll be like. And we have, one of the reasons we signed a deal with Warner Brothers because we actually have ideas that are nothing like Southside. There's one idea that we have that I feel like is almost like, I hate to use such reductive terms, but to people who haven't seen the show yet, because we haven't even written it yet, I see it as sort of like a Black Succession. Like I see it as like a family story that could only be told with a Black family, and those are the kind of stories that you don't really see on TV too much. Usually it's just a straight up comedy, and I think this will have a lot of comedic moments. But I like the work of Rian Johnson in Knives Out. And I feel like that particular family, believe it or not, reminds me of my family more than people might suspect. So we're definitely talking to that. I've even talked to Rian Johnson. Maybe we can figure out a way to work together on that. And there are a couple other directors who we're thinking about for that. And then also, we're old comic book nerds. Like, so one of the reasons we're at Warner Brothers is because we want to do something in the superhero space. I think the DC is doing exciting stuff. We all love Marvel, but I think the DC, because they give you a lot of creative license with some of their lesser known characters, I think that we could actually breathe some life into some characters who've never been seen in any TV,
Yeah.
cartoon, or movie experience. Because I'm deep into the comic books, and there are characters like Animal Man and Booster Gold that I would love to see. I'd even like to see maybe a reinvention of Jonah Hex. So there are a lot of there are characters like Scandal Savage, who a lot of listeners probably don't know, but like, she was in a DC graphic novel called Villains. I think that's a great character. I want to see more of that character. So we're having fun, just dabbling in a really diverse pool of stuff.
This is so cool. I'm like excited for you. I'm like, oh, keep doing this.
We want to keep putting stuff out. It's not even out of boredom. It's just because this has nothing to do with Snoop reaching out to us. But I've always admired a quote from Snoop from the '90s where they were like, "How do you come up with your music?" And he was like, "I come up with the music that I want to play in my car." He's like, nobody. If somebody else made this music, I would play it. And I think that's the attitude we take to shows. We're like, why has nobody done that show? Okay, maybe we can be the guys to do it.
Yeah. Oh, God. When you worked at Fallon, you were able to write in Jimmy's voice so well. And I think that's such a hard skill. I know personally I struggle with it, like not sounding like myself. Do you have any tips for writing for someone else and sounding or writing in someone else's voice?
Well, listen, like, we know when you work for the person whose name is on the show, it's always going to be, they have to connect with every word. And I'm sure that Ellen's the same way, but like with Jimmy, like, one word can potentially throw off the entire joke. You know what I mean? So you have to really know their voice enough that you're gonna, win them over. And look, it was a 5-day a week job. Like, there was never a dial it in day. So, we were there for almost 4 years, 5 days a week, always trying to break the internet. Like, I'm glad that we had that young man energy.
I know. I was gonna say, oh
I
God.
think I could do it. There are guys who were there then who are there now, and I'm like, man, they just must be a freaking writing muscle, just a muscle sitting at a desk typing, because I can't even imagine having done it this long.
Yeah.
But we had so much fun there because Jimmy was so great, and it was like graduate school in comedy. Like, we worked there every day. It was like graduate school in music because we were there with the Roots. It was just it was a great time, and we met so many celebrities. Some were great, some were terrible people, and but the really nice ones outweighed they outnumbered the really terrible ones, or at least in that hour or two that we were working with them on a bit.
So. I just can't believe you met like President Obama. Like, no big deal. Just
no big deal. I mean, I'm so glad we did. We met him again recently, and it was a lot briefer. The cool thing about working at Fallon was that you actually had time to sit down in a room by yourself, not by yourself with Obama. You had the security around, but like, I remember sitting in a tiny cramped room, working out a bit for Fallon with Stephen Colbert, just me and Stephen. And, this is somebody who I loved and admired.
Yeah.
And it was just weird for him to be like, so what do you want to do next? And I was just like, this is Stephen. There are people who I feel like have terrible reputations, and I don't know if they deserve it. I remember we worked with Gwyneth Paltrow on a bit on Fallon, and I will say that she was one of the nicest. She sticks out in my mind as one of the nicest people that we ever worked with on the show, and she was pitching funny jokes back, and like, I think the piece killed. Her and Jimmy played a New Jack Swing group, early '90s R&B, and it was hilarious and funny and really well done. And Quest killed the beat. So that's what it was like working on Sherman Showcase.
Yeah.
In fact, I always say that Sherman Showcase probably wouldn't exist if we hadn't been at Fallon, because it was at Fallon we decided, oh, we like merging music with comedy. This is what's fun. So, yeah.
You do it so well too. I feel like it's such a hard thing to do for some people.
Well, you don't want to do. I'll tell you what. Only Weird Al can make a silly song that's compelling. A lot of people make comedy songs. Like, I don't know why, but it just hurts my ears.
I know.
Only Weird Al has been able to do it in the Weird Al way. I think the Lonely Island, people think, oh, they make funny songs. No, they make great songs and then make the lyrics kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, in the sense that they're funny because they remind you of songs in that genre. And we've always looked up to the Lonely Island guys for that reason. We've looked up to them because we were like, they're actually able to make music that's funny, but that a DJ would actually want to play.
Yeah.
as opposed to some other people who I'm just like, okay, that's comedy music. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Can you watch comedies? I feel like I'm like, I can't do it at some point.
No, I'm so glad you bring this up. There are some shows that I'm able to watch, and I'm like, that's really funny. But like when we're in comedy mode, I actually watch more dramas and documentaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel like you get more inspired to what you can do in your own projects when you're watching something serious, or you decide, you know what, there's something that I want to say.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just copying people's jokes, and that's never compelling to me. I think it's always much stronger to, you know, take in what's really happening in the world and to observe. You can just be out, like, I don't know, dropping off some dry cleaning or going to get some food or something like that, and just observe what's happening around you that's funny. And to me,
Yeah.
that's what inspires comedy. Now, if I'm not in production mode, and it's been a while since I haven't been,
Yeah.
then I start, thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get caught up on What We Do in Shadows, or I'm going to binge documentary now, or,
Yeah.
some of the stuff that I really enjoy. Because
Yeah.
even the stuff that I really enjoy is made more rich by the stuff that I think that they're parodying or referencing or just observing about human nature.
Yeah. Did anything really prepare you for like becoming like a showrunner, creating shows? Like, because it's so hard to do, and that's what I want to do. So, like, how do you prepare?
Here in comedy, there's some hard, tangible things that you can do, which are, everybody has a movie studio in their pocket. So
Yeah.
shoot things, write things, shoot them with your friends, edit them, and post them. You know what I mean? And you'll immediately see, okay, I wish I'd done that differently. I wish that I'd done this. Oh, this part worked out good. Oh, here's where I'm a good actor. Maybe I don't have the range to cry on the spot. Like you'll be able to critique yourself. And I think you should post, because I do think that you're gonna want to, if you're proud of it, you're gonna want to be able to send people that, maybe more so than just a script.
Yeah.
Um, and over time you'll get better at it. That'll be your film school. So I think that's one key thing. I think you should have a spec script that you can send to people who are already showrunners, so that if you hear that they're hiring, there's something that and it should be a spec script. For those who don't know, a spec script is when you write a script on an existing show.
Mhm.
So you're not just, or sometimes the spec script can actually be a completely original, half-hour show that you write. Yeah, as a showrunner, I've read both, and
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays people will read an original script just as much, if not more, than a spec script on an existing show. Like, so, you know, would I read somebody's script of The Office? Maybe, but I think it would be just as good just to write an original script and have your voice come through. I think
Yeah.
that's totally acceptable, and then you might sell it, by the way. Um, I think that's what you can do. I think you can shoot stuff and post it. And I think you can also write scripts. And don't be afraid to be a writer's assistant, because frequently a writer's assistant, specifically the job of writer assistant, not necessarily the assistant to a writer, which means you might be like picking up, dry cleaning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a writer's assistant is an official term for the person who's in the writer's room, taking the notes of the writers while they spitball. Commonly, those people want to be writers. And if you get the chance to pitch a joke, be grateful. And if you pitch good jokes all the time, you become a writer on a show. That happened to one of the writers on Southside. He
Oh, that's
started as a
awesome.
writer's assistant. He was very funny, and he eventually became one of the writers.
Yeah. How do you know how to cut things too? Because I feel like Southside flows so well. There are just so many jokes. Like, do you?
It's painful. I mean, like, I think that every Southside episode could stand to be about 2 minutes longer. I think now that we're on HBO Max, and season 2 episodes probably will be more like 24, 25 minutes instead of 21 and a half, because we had to cut so much good stuff to get down to 21 and a half. And in case people aren't aware, 21 and a half minutes is the length of every half-hour show on a show with commercials.
Yeah.
So it might say 30 minutes, but you're watching a good 8.5 minutes of commercials, and you're watching 21 and a half minutes of TV. That means that we, the creators, have to literally cut jokes. We had to cut them to within an inch of their life,
Yeah.
sometimes. And there's very little room sometimes for a nice slow burn joke. There are whole storylines that got cut out of some of those Southside episodes. So I'm happy that people are watching and liking them.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that there's some really funny stuff that you didn't see. And we actually asked HBO Max if we could or at least like extended cuts. And then we walked away from it because then we were like, you know what, let's just put all that time, because that takes a long time to actually edit together.
Yeah.
We went back and went out of our way to make sure that, you know, season 2 is just that funny. But in season 2, you're probably going to get a little bit more episode per episode.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it. What,
I'm so happy your grandmother is into it too.
oh yeah, like obsessed, like not okay. Like thank God she doesn't have social media because she'll be like DMing you. Like no. We're one of the best sketch groups, I think, of I don't know, my lifetime. Cleo's Apartment. Will there ever be a reunion?
Cleo's Apartment was a hit out of the box in the sense that like our very first 6 shows were all sold out. We sold out 99-seat theater, which was unheard of, and
Yeah.
was really amazed that that could even happen. It was me and Bashir and Robin Thede and Wyatt Cenac. And everybody was so young, and Nefertari Spencer from Southside, and Angela Yarbrough, who's a writer on Sherman Showcase. Nika King, who's actually the mom of Zendaya on Euphoria. You know, that was our sketch group. Nobody was famous. Nobody had really done anything. We thought Wyatt was kind of famous because he had been a writer on King of the Hill, and that was about it. You know, like that was a very fun time. It was rambunctious. We put really crazy sketches up, and people responded. That was when we were like, oh, you know, we might be onto something here. So, you know, that's been about, gosh, that was 15 years ago.
God, that's crazy.
15 years ago. But, you know, since that time, Wyatt's gone on to be a Daily Show correspondent and to do lots of great stand-up. Robin Thede, I don't think I have to tell anybody. He's a star. You know, Black Lady Sketch Show just came out with a new season.
Yeah.
Nefertari and Angela have continued to work with Bashir and I through it all. And yeah, we're just really happy. I think one day maybe we will do a reunion of Cleo's Apartment, assuming that everybody, I always assume everybody's cool with one another, but maybe, you know, if Robin and I don't actually want to even throw out a hypothetical because I'll probably nail it. And then we'll be like, oh man, he's spilling the tea. So no, I think we're all friends, and absolutely reunion coming away.
It would be amazing. I've done so many shows with there's like more people in the cast than the audience. So I'm like, how? I
had done lots of heralds at UCB, and I was not expecting that. That was pretty intense. You know, there were so many people that when they started stomping their feet for an encore, we were like, we don't have any more sketches. We can get out there and do, you know, give us a suggestion, Butterfly. All right, here we go, Butterfly. Yeah. We could have done that, but I'm glad we didn't. We didn't soil our good reputation.
And then last question, do you have any like guilty pleasures in quarantine? Are you watching any terrible shows? Are you baking bread or anything? I feel like you're too busy.
I feel like I have some guilty pleasures. Let me see. Well, gosh, you know what? They're probably not going to sound guilty to some, because to me, like, I need to be watching Nomadland. I haven't seen it yet. I need to be watching Minari.
I know.
I've just been binging comic book stuff. Like, I bought a whole bunch of comic books that I want to adapt, and then I watched the Snyder Cut, which I think qualifies me as an expert.
Yeah.
But no, I did go back and watch literally all the DC movies in order, and I gotta say, I appreciate them now more that there's like the ultimate edition of Batman versus Superman and the Snyder Cut of Justice League, because, you know, I think that these movies are way better the way that they were intended by the directors. You know, it doesn't make me an outlier at all, I know, but I mean, like, I sincerely believe that these are better movies. So I'm excited to be doing that. Gosh, there must be something just really schlocky that I don't know that I've been watching. Right before I came out to Chicago to shoot Southside, I'd really gotten into Real Housewives franchise for the first time. I'd really gotten into it. I think I started with Beverly Hills, and then I got into Atlanta, and team, you know, Team Denise Richards for sure.
I know.
So yeah, we all have our faults.
I feel like too, you're also one of the most fashionable people I've ever seen. Like, you're always so fashion forward. Is that a conscious effort too?
No, I think that you don't know what you're talking about. I don't consider myself fashion. I will say I do like cool clothes, but I know too many fashionable people to ever claim that I am fashionable. So I'll just say that I do like clothes to fit.
Well,
I don't wear sweatpants every day, but if I find I found a cool bomber jacket. I didn't even find it. I was driving down the street and I pulled over to the side because I was near the restaurant. I'd ordered some food, and there was a girl walking her dog, but she had on a cool bomber jacket. And I was like, okay, let me not scare this woman by like just rolling up on her and be like, where you get the jacket? Like, but I did. I just like, hey, excuse me, where'd you get this jacket? And she was totally cool. And she was like, oh, like I got, my friend makes these jackets. So I supported like a local business. Like, come to find out her friend makes these cool jackets, these cool Chicago jackets.
Oh, what?
And I should probably like take a picture and put them on blast because I think they're really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and last question, I promise. So since you're from Atlanta, not Chicago, did you have to go through any like Chicago hazing, or did they make you do any
What's
tests?
interesting? Our original pilot that Bashir and I tried to do was at HBO, and it was called Brothers in Atlanta. And so I took Bashir all through Atlanta and introduced him to the city. And we spent the next 4 years working on that pilot/series, and it never went, which is still sort of sad and makes me really want to do a show in Atlanta. But I say all that to say that when HBO moved on from us, we went to Comedy Central with a show about Chicago, and Bashir did basically the same thing to us. We spent, a couple of weeks, actually about a month here, just getting to know, just so I could get to know Chicago, so that the same way that he had been like sort of the ears and eyes of an outsider in Atlanta, he allowed me to be sort of the ears and eyes of an outsider in Chicago. And as a result, I was able to say, what's this about? That's interesting. Yeah. So even as we're throwing in the things that only people in Chicago would know about, we're also inviting people who don't know anything about Chicago into the world.
Yeah.
In that sense, our partnership is ideal. We don't take anything for granted, and yet we're still throwing information out there for the initiated.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect. It's truly a perfect show. I love it so much. So thank you again for doing this. You're so busy.
I'm happy to be here, Jessica.
No, thank you again. And can you relax hopefully the rest of today, or are you back? Oh no. God. Oh my God. Well, you're the best. Thank you again. I owe you so much. So
no, you don't owe me anything. Thank you for your time. Yeah.